Well, together, Tim Burton and Michael Keaton have worked together, and of course, they've been several years in this business, but both of you now, with Batman, are on the verge, I guess, of something bigger than the both of you, bigger than any project you've ever been in. Tim, is that
Can I say something? Nothing is bigger than this, really, if I can.
I've been in show business, what, 35 years
It's your life.
40 years, and this is the biggest thing I've ever been involved in.
Does it sometimes get so big that you think, wait a minute, what happened here, Tim?
Well, you know, luckily being in England, we didn't see a lot of it. But you know, coming back, you do see it. But I just try to avoid it, and because you just want the movie to stand on its own, and there's nothing you can do about the stuff surrounding it.
Did that help being in England, Michael?
Yeah, because I actually learned how big this thing had gotten when I came back. I had made a couple. I got to come home once, and then I went back and finished that. When I came home and the movie had been wrapped, I started to take in the enormity of it.
In fact, could you share a moment, maybe the first time you stepped out onto one of those massive sets and looked around you?
Well, that's what happened. While I was doing this movie, I was at the same time a participant and an observer, an onlooker almost, because I was pretty knocked out by the enormity of it. And I'd be sitting on the set with Tim sometimes, and he'd be into discussions about things, and I'd panic for a minute. I'd say, I don't even know what he's talking about, because he's off.
Nobody else did either.
Right? He's off into so many things. But I think Tim actually. I mean, I hate to talk for other people. It's like telling somebody, you know what you ought to do. I always like when people say, you know what you should do. But Tim seems to be, to me, someone who actually thrives on a lot of stuff going on at one time.
Yeah.
And actually, what he gave to me, one of the ideas he gave to me. For the character was, this is a man who has too much on his plate, and that was key to Bruce Wayne.
Too much on his plate, Tim?
Somebody's a lot going on,
Well, let's look at the man's lifestyle.
They can't quite, he's got a night job,
Yeah, and he's got to pull off something during the day, while being tired.
Now, the whole inception of this idea goes back many years, but I guess in, 1985, Tim, there was a preliminary script that was it more comic?
Was it what?
Was it a little bit more comically oriented?
Yeah, it was actually a lot like, I felt, and it was a lot like the structure of Superman. It was sort of kind of a similar take on it, which I think this is a very different from Superman, and should be different.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took a while to get to the right tone, I think.
Now, with Michael in the project, did you have to sit on him? Did he sit on himself? What kind of a process did you get to kind of keep the lid?
Well, you didn't have to keep a lid on it. It was more. I actually felt more like a junior high psychology student, because here you're a movie based on a comic book, but you're trying to give it a little bit more psychological structure, base to it, without going too far. So. We went in with a firm idea of what we wanted to do, but then, in terms of movement, in terms of, tones and all, there's a lot of just discussions and really just trying things. So it wasn't so much keeping a lid on something as it was just sort of exploring it and trying to watch the tone.
These darker things that have been creeping more and more into your roles, Michael, do you like this?
Oh, yeah, I do like it, but it's coincidental in that it happened 3 times in a row. That's just the way they went. And then, weirdly enough, I was offered something the other day that I really was intrigued by, and it also was pretty dark, and I don't see it necessarily as a way I'm going, or I mean the way I'm going. I just see it as a way, or something I'm doing for a while, and I'll then do something else again. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to do it all, do both.
Which of the two of you would most like to jump out from behind the hedge and say boo, to get a scare, a shock, maybe with a comedy?
I don't know. I'll tell you this much, though. I was talking about this yesterday. The whole idea of fear and when you're a kid and stuff, I was thinking about this when I heard Tim talk. It was always more fun to me to scare than to be scared. Wasn't it? I used to scare the shit out of my sister. And I tell you, man, it was really fun. Yeah. I mean, I used to love, and they knew, my sisters knew I would scare them. I mean, most of them I would scare, because my brothers were older than me, and they'd scare me. That was their function.
Yeah, I mean, I love to look in the mirror and scare myself.
Yeah, really, though, literally, you see how grotesque you can make your face sometimes? I would literally do it. And to scare my sister was like, great.
How long did it take the two of you to find you had this in common, Tim?
I'm just learning this now.
But it is fun.
That's great.
And sometimes I scare my kid, and he digs it. You know, I like to chase him around the house, and I notice that I
good.
have to pull back sometimes because
Yeah.
he's going, all right, all right.
Now, finally, tell me about the duel of the smoked glasses here.
Well, you see how much light is in here. I mean,
No, babe, come on, babe.
all right,
Let's be
we're
honest.
very show business
And pretentious,
types.
and that's why we decided to stay true to our nature. The pretentious bullshit image.
But if you wore those on that dark set, you couldn't see a dark
Truthfully,
thing.
I got a couple hours sleep last night. These are real bright, and they're drying my eyes out, and we do these constantly, so you get really stupid looking, and I choose not to look goofy if I can help it.
Just a few seconds. Were either of you not a Batman fan, but as a result of this are now? Has it-
I kind of am more interested now because I wasn't before. I didn't dislike the man. I just had no opinion.
Yeah.
Now I actually find it pretty intriguing.
Okay. Michael Keaton.
All right.
Tim Burton.
Mike Lowe.
We're talking about Batman here in Hollywood. I'm John Tibbetts for KCTV5.